Hi, I am back. It's been a rough few weeks, but some people have had a rougher week than me. It seems that the radical crumbling embers of the Republican Party are continuing to fracture as they realize uh, kind of following a cult leader who's getting very old and doesn't really have any committed policy ideas is not, in fact, a long term recipe for any kind of success. Which is very funny to watch from the outside, but I just hope that good people don't die in the process. So, we're going to take a look at some headlines lately because it's utter chaos. The Republican Party right now cannot get any kind of handle on consistency in their messaging or direction. But with every kind of off-year election that's happened this fall and all the special elections that have run, they've all been very, very massive red flags for the Republican Party's chances going into next year. So they're starting to panic more and more and more. And yes, Valdez, you're correct. You're completely right. Yeah, they were right about a civil war. It's between the right wing and the far right wing. They cannot get on the same page, and they're starting to jump ship. Marjorie Taylor Greene, and it makes sense that like a woman would be the first one to speak out against this, because when you see that like you're following a broader group that's marketing itself on its bigotry, you know at some point down that line, as they secure power, they're going to start to kick out minorities, right? So like if you're like a white Christian boy like Mike Johnson, you're going to want to cling on for dear life as long as you can because you think you still have a chance. Whereas you're going to see some of the more minority members, like any people of color or any women, start to kind of realistically see this is going downhill and all they can do is throw red meat to their base and they're going to come after different like groups' rights. It's not worth it, like long term. Realistically, it's just not a good bet. And even if you support those kinds of ideas as like a, whatever, I'll just say whatever to get like voters on my side. Once your group actually has power and starts to win and implement those things, it's a bad idea. And you have like lots of women who are like, whatever, I can speak out against women's rights because it's never going to happen to me. And once they have enough power to do that, then you realize this is a bad idea and you can't keep backing that ship. So Marjorie Taylor Greene has kind of led a more open rebellion. She's resigning. A bunch of Republicans are resigning. There's not really a reason to keep backing Trump because he's getting very old. That's not a good, smart, long-term career investment. Hey, TikTok chat. Thank you. Yeah, I miss him a lot. Yeah, I'm sorry. Condolences to you as well. It's a lot. Yeah, and it messed with me through the holidays. It's kind of why I had to take a break from streaming. But yeah, focusing on stuff like this is interesting. So like, yeah, it's collapsing. Who's going to win the Republican power struggle? No one is going to win this Republican power struggle. That's kind of the point. Like the writing is on the wall. Every statistical projection you can have, like they're going to get swept out of office next year by a lot. It's going to be really bad. Like it's going to be a blue tsunami at this rate. And so what you're going to see is a lot of Republicans, especially in Congress where there's 2-year terms, not running in 2026 or like backing out or resigning now. They're getting off early so they don't get implicated in the bad PR right now, right? That's a problem why like a lot of vice presidents who try to run for president end up losing or like getting hit a lot if they end up feeling their whole identity is tied to a presidency that didn't do well. So a lot of Republicans who want long-term power are like announcing they're resigning early or they're not running again because they want to like step back a little bit and let this tidal wave pass by them and then jump in and say, see, it was better when I was there and I can be the solution to this problem. I'm not like them. And they're going to start marketing themselves as being against that. I mean, it's going to be bad for the Republicans. It's going to be good for the country. But, like, people are going to get tricked. And there's already a couple instances of something they've circulated as, like, an idea in the Project 2025 stuff. Especially if it looks like the writing's on the wall because their ideas are very unpopular and unsuccessful. Some of them might even run as Democrats openly, like do a Christian cinema where she ran as a Democrat and then like flipped. So, keep an eye out, be careful, like, look at people's policies, and look at their history, too. Is, like, them running for office the first time they, said they support something, or are they, like, actually consistently, like, they care about their values and are running for office to enact them? So, be careful. Yeah, that is a double take. But, yeah, so the Republican Party, I think their only way out is either committing to the very bitter end and hoping they can cling onto power in deep red areas. But even that is going to fail. Like, when Trump dies of old age, which he will, he's in poor health, the bruising on his hand, that's not where you get a bruise from a handshake, like they've said, and it's consistently every month, and he's out of the public eye every month. He's getting, like, IVs. Like, that's what that means. That's what that looks like. That's an IV bruise. So, yeah, if you back that horse and then the horse dies, that's bad. Trump is going to get more and more desperate to up his approval rating because as it sinks, it signals to other Republicans they can go rogue, and they're going to keep fracturing and blowing up over that. So Marjorie Taylor Greene is leading kind of like a exodus movement a little bit that's going to come back and circle back around probably in 2028. I don't know if Marjorie Taylor Greene herself will run for office again. She stands pretty good odds presidentially if she can endorse, but she could also pivot into some kind of media role. Like, she could start a media company, be kind of a pundit, and, like, play at a very high level there. Yeah, like, in terms of, like, blood is failing to circulate. He has ankles like a hippopotamus. It's just not working out. So it's like we're kind of seeing, like, this slow car crash happen, and we're seeing everyone react to it. The problem that a lot of moderate Democrats are taking from this is they can just stay still and do the same thing, which will work to avoid the problem, but it doesn't move things forward. When they get power again, those moderate Democrats will continue to be horribly disliked because they're not offering solutions to the problem. Ooh, the Texas Senate race between Tallarico and Crockett. Yes, okay. I've been keeping an eye on that. So in Texas, there's going to be a Senate race next year, and the kind of Democratic, probably going to win the primary, is a guy called James Tallarico. He's a white Christian boy who talks about Jesus a lot and says we should have, like, economic fairness. He is getting a lot of bipartisan support. Even his campaign signs are, like, black and white with little star motifs, so it, like, looks kind of more neutral. He's aiming for a very bipartisan aesthetic, for kind of moderate, like, somewhat progressive policies. But it's Texas, so you take what you can get. The kind of breaking point for, like, a major political shift, it seems, is if blue Texas could happen, because Texas has been a swing state for a very, very, very long time, and people always think this is the year it's going to flip, and then it goes red. But if there is real momentum in this kind of, like, reactionary blue wave, like, refuting what's going on now, maybe it could happen. Problem is also Jasmine Crockett, who is planning out her own long-term career, wants to run for Senate. And she was going to run for the other Senate seat and decided it was too little too late. So she is hopping into the same race, unfortunately, because she's also a good candidate. She's from Texas. She was in the House of Representatives, whereas I believe Tallarico came up through kind of like state government, but Crockett has already been in federal government, but just in the House side. She wants to move to Senate. So now they are both running for the same seat, which is unfortunate. And so it's kind of, you got to choose between them. The problem is, like, Crockett has a lot of kind of party support, but Tallarico has more bipartisan support. And the question is, how far has Texas fallen socially, culturally, that would they vote for a black woman is kind of the big worry versus this white boy who keeps talking about the Bible. And so one strong possibility that I'm worried about, at least, is that Crockett wins the primary because she's popular and kind of well-known and famous among the Democratic base nationally, but then she loses the general. Like, Texas has always kind of been below the bar. Like, they just keep failing. Yeah, if Tallarico wins a primary, he'll get the party support. But the problem is, will you get support out of the party? Crockett, though, has said some really interesting, good stuff, and I like what she has to say, where Crockett is interested in the way that the Democrats can win power and grow their base again, is learning from the right, like learning from what Trump managed to do, which is you're not just convincing the same voter blocks to flip back and forth, but you're looking into the other third of the population, which is people who do not vote. And how can you get them to vote? And why would they vote? Like the invisible voters who are there. And it seems for Donald Trump, because when he wins an election, he gets a bump over all other Republicans. And those same Republicans don't vote in anything else, like any midterms, any special elections, or even on the rest of the ticket. Donald Trump has tapped into a base of like normie, low education, maybe high school education level voters, like lots of old people and like really young people, like white, turning male, kind of stupid. And they just like Donald Trump specifically. It's like very parasocial. It's a fandom. And that's kind of how they've marketed themselves and gained national party momentum. You have lots of Trump endorsed people running as like, I'm like Trump too. But that's going to expire. Yeah, lots of racists. But I mean, there's been like an old school, like everlasting racism trend in the U.S. So, yeah. So the Crockett's theory is that she can do the same thing. And there are lots of historically disenfranchised black areas. I don't know if she could appeal in Texas, though, maybe more to like Hispanic voters and stuff. Like, she has to find the groups of the communities and neighborhoods where there's not high voting rates and inspire them to vote. And I hope, win or lose, she does do that. But that's kind of an interesting play. And I really want to see that more. I think a lot of people feel forgotten, left behind, and won't vote. But they'll vote for Donald Trump specifically because he makes them feel seen. Like, I think one of the most important photo ops of the 2024 election cycle was Donald Trump LARPing as a McDonald's employee. What would the Venezuela war do to the electoral climate? It's going to swing left. We've progressed enough now. I have good information technology. People are aware of some stuff. Yeah, Donald Trump recognizes problems. He just does not know any solutions. He's bad at that. He's not a good businessman. He's not a good problem solver. He knows, like, what's the pitch I need to sell you? Like, what are your insecurities and worries and issues? But he's never had a good product in his life. He's never had an answer. All of his businesses have gone bankrupt. There's no sustain. There's no, like, return on that. He can push people to the point of purchase, and then after that, it drops off a cliff. And that's what he's done with this country. All of the tariff policies have caused prices to spike. Farmers keep getting socialist bailouts. No one else. What anti-Semitism bill? What is it this time? Yeah, but I have something on the Venezuela stuff. So while Trump is escalating the situation in Venezuela to a war, even in the 2000s, right? Because he's not out of ideas. In the 2000s, in the Bush era, it was a very big, like, neocon, war hawky kind of Republican Party. And because the Republicans don't really have ideas, they're just defaulting back to that. Because it's cool and governing for any extended period of time. And weirdly, in the same way, Trump is, like, very against remote work. It's bizarre to me, but, like, they're trying to, we'll just make oil cheaper by doing a war for oil. And then that will, like, make prices go down, and wow, look, the economy's better. But people don't want to drive around. Like, people have computer-based jobs. People want remote work still. You won't get as positive of a return from that as he's hoping, and that's why he's doing this. But now, especially because we have woken up and realized what happened with all the 2000s Middle Eastern wars, that it was just BS for oil, people are not going to fall for that the same way, not as many. And it's going to get, like, there wasn't an anti-war movement through the Bush administration. And it took 8 years of slowly building the momentum to make that, like, unpopular. But it would speed run it this time. So it would get a lot of backlash. I don't think, like, high gas prices is the biggest economic indicator right now. It's, like, rent and groceries. So it's a very outdated way of thinking, but he's a very old man, and he's falling back on what he knows and remembers. And so, you know, his most recent, like, in-touch ideas for what to do is going to be something from, like, the 2000s. Nothing recent, nothing in touch with today. Yeah, like, I mean, this is going to be a big, big, big anti-war backlash movement, especially because of, like, Palestine, right? Like lots of young people. I do think it was inflated by bots a little bit because we've not seen the same humanitarian care carry over to like Sudan or the Uyghur Muslims. But that issue is kind of like dying down a little bit because there's talks of a peace plan that's bullshit. But it's like what's the next thing? And I think those same audiences now have one eye open to like geopolitical goings on and like a humanitarian ethical prioritization. And so I think a war in Venezuela is going to have like not only it's going to look bad because the historical precedent, it's very transparent, they're playing with an open hand on what they're doing this for, but then we're going to have all those young people who were already like able to get connected over stuff like Palestine and like hate war and hate US imperialism are then going to be handed on a silver platter. Hey, we're going to do another 2000 style war for oil. I mean, it's going to be the most like efficient backlash I think we've ever seen to a war in American history. And yeah, if it escalates to like war with China or any other superpower, it's going to be bad. But the problem is, it might not really kick off until 2026, where Democrats would control Congress and be able to be like, hey, these are all acts of war. You need to formally declare a war, and you're not. And you can't do that and like stop him and make a thing of it because Trump just keeps getting away with like drip feeding a war to kind of slow the escalation. Because if there was some major singular, like here's the moments, it would be bad. Like there would be massive backlash. So he's trying to kind of like make people acclimated to a war with Venezuela really slowly, and that's the problem here. Trump on Tuesday ordered a blockade of all sanctioned. Someone mass reported me. Hello? Sorry, someone mass reported me. Whatever, we can keep streaming on YouTube. Yeah, but let me see if I can restart the stream really quick. Yeah, no, someone was just being shitty. Hang on, I'm gonna restart the stream. I'll be right back. Let me see if I can tinker with it.